Okay, so here's that review for getting started with your project on Photoshop. So you're going to go to number 1, create new. And it's going to give you a choice. You can come over here and choose 10 by 10 inches. Make sure your units are in inches. Again, make sure you're in pixels by inch. RGB is your color mode, and white is fine for the background. So click create. And there's your workspace. The next step is to bring in the photo of you, which we all should have by now. So to bring that photo in, you go to File, and you're going to choose Place Embedded. And so I need to go to my folder where I have that file saved. And in the case of this demo, that is in here. I think. And click place. Okay, so that brings in your photo. I resized mine to get it to fit within that square space just a little bit better, and I offset it from the center. Hit enter to set that embedded image into your document. The next thing we did was we went to adjustment layers, and we're clicking on black and white. So that converts my piece to black and white. I can adjust if I'd like to a little bit. No need for that, not a requirement, but it's a possibility if you'd like to try that. I also need to then, I want to then lock, I definitely want to lock my photo layer. Let's just do that for now. And that's the lock symbol here. And the next step is to add a brand new layer right here with your plus symbol, create new layer. It should be on top of all of your other layers. Title it sketch. And I want to show you about the brushes. You don't want to just go with whatever is like the default brush. So if you've just started Photoshop and you haven't really been messing around with any of these tools, it's probably going to default right here to this soft, round, general brush. And, you know, when you paint with that, it doesn't have any kind of tapering. It doesn't have like any shape dynamics to it. So don't paint with that default brush, guys. You have to go pick one, like an actual drawing brush. So you do that in this menu right here. And I went into the dry media brushes, and this first pencil worked well for me. Notice that I'm at 8 pixels. I would say somewhere between, I don't know, 5 to 15 should be good for you for this. For the sketch, I'm going to go with just black or maybe like a dark gray or charcoal for my color. And then the last thing, and I should have done this before I locked the layer, I forgot, unlock it. Remember we did this and we turned down the opacity a little bit? That's helpful for when you draw your sketch because then you can actually see the outlining that you're doing. So I'm going to lock it again now that I've done that. I'm going back to my sketch layer. If I don't want to paint on this black and white adjustment layer, I might want to lock that as well. Okay. So I'm ready with the drawing tablet at this point. And like we saw last week, I am going in and I am just drawing in where I have areas that are separate from each other. So like the edge of my chin. Oh my gosh, this is so hard. I'm facing like the wrong way with the computer. Maybe this will help me. If I turn the drawing tablet. Yeah, that's better. So I'm going and I'm actually doing this on an extended screen right now instead of the screen right in front of me. So it's like sideways. All right, so I'm going around and I'm going to just outline all of the areas in my piece. So where do I have different elements? Where do they start? Where do they finish? I would even draw like a little line in for where my nose is located. I might even draw a line in for like these little marks here so that I know like, oh, that's an area that is kind of shadowed and I'm going to maybe need to do a different color there when I start painting. So I would outline where my lips are. I don't know how detailed I get on the teeth, but you know, you saw that I have a like further along version of this that we've looked at. So I'll pull that up for you and you can look at that. But this is where I'm headed. Okay, so this is all new now going forward. So this was review. Now we're going to start with a new step. So in the daily slide for today, there's a link. Okay, and the link is right here. This is interesting. The link is right here. It is color.adobe.com. So that's where we're headed. And when you open up that screen and you scroll down, you are going to see a bunch of choices, right? So we have a bunch of color themes. And then the nice thing about these color themes is that they show you how they apply to artwork. So you can see that now. You can see like, oh, these are all the photos that are built into, colors that are built into this photograph. Okay. So you're looking for a variety of colors that you feel comfortable painting your portrait with. And I would say to keep scrolling through until you really find something that you like, a combination that you like that you think will work well. And I think you should also look for something that's got like an obvious highlight. Like this would be a highlight in this color palette. So something that's like fairly obvious for a highlight out of the series of colors that you've got. So when you find one that you'd like to paint with, the next step is, let's say I want to do, I don't know, this set here. I can download it. It says download as JPEG. So you can click that. It should ask you where you want to put it. I'm putting it in my DigArt folder under self-portrait. I made a self-portrait folder. That's probably a good idea for everybody to do. Go ahead and hit save. And now we can pop back into Photoshop. And what I'm going to do is the same thing I did when I brought in my image. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to choose Place Embedded. And I'm going to get that color swatch that I just downloaded and hit Place. And it comes into your workspace like this. So you can resize it, scoot it over to the side. I'd keep it on the screen for now, but I want to show you the next steps. We want to bring these colors into our swatches. Swatches are located right up here. And so I can click with this eyedropper tool on one of these colors. I'm going to click right here and I'm going to choose add to swatches, say okay, and it's become a part of my swatch library. I can go and get the next one, add to swatches, okay, this one, add to swatches, this one, and then this last one. So my goal would be to try to work with this color palette right here that I've added into my swatch panel or my libraries, okay? So if there are other swatches in your library that there shouldn't be because we have never done this before, these are old swatches that I added previously. So my next step here is to decide, okay, which of these colors do I want to maybe start painting kind of like my base skin tone with? And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be accurate. I could do it with this blue color. So I could do it with this sort of, I don't even know what that color is, mauve or something like that. I could do it with yellow. So I have other colors in here. So it doesn't have to be natural skin tone. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So maybe I'll go with this brighter pink and I'll just have that be my, well, let's go with this one. All right. So now we're shifting and we're going to go and make a brand new layer at this point. So I'll hit add layer. This one's going to be called underpainting. And so I can just title it that to stay organized. And this is really just getting like the base tone down for like my skin tone. And if I wanted to be super organized, I could title it skin tone underpainting. Okay, it's being super duper organized here. I don't want to accidentally paint on this layer, so I'm going to lock it. I don't want to paint on my sketch layer, so I'm also locking that, assuming my sketch is done, which it's not. So I'm going to drag my skin tone underpainting layer below my sketch. That's also important. You don't want to paint over your sketch. Your sketch is there as a guide to help you out with where you are placing your paint. It's almost like it's there as like an outline of like a coloring book, right? It's there to help you. So let's say I'm ready to paint. I'm going to pick my color and I can go and I can get my color by clicking here. And I can go into like my color libraries and I can browse and I can find those colors that I just added. Or what I think is easier is if you click on your libraries right here, you've got them all like right on hand. Okay, I don't want to paint with a hard pencil. Now I'm getting into paint brushes, like things that are, maybe I want to work with the wet media brushes, or maybe I want to work with some of these like special effects brushes. Maybe I want to use a mixer brush. So there's some choices in here that you might like. I'm also going to go with a bigger brush size. Okay. Double check that you're on the correct layer. And then what I'm doing is I'm just coming in and I'm just kind of painting this in. Okay. Now my lips are going to end up being a different color. So I'm going to leave space for that color there. And then my sunglasses obviously are going to be a different color, so I'll leave some space there as well. Now I can always overlap, right? So my job here would be to just kind of get in like that basic skin tone, and it is going to look kind of like a blob. Make sure when you're doing this that your pen pressure sensitivity is working correctly. Because like if I go really lightly, I'm going to get a thin line. If I go really hard, I'm going to get a thick line. See that? Okay. I'm going to be toggling and turning this layer on and off, on and off. So I need to be able to turn that visibility off and on throughout the time that I'm painting. The next thing I would be looking for is where do I have highlights? If you look at this, do you see there's a highlight right on the top of the cheek, but then there's a shadow right here? An easy way to accomplish that in your painting is to go into your skin tone color. If you need to add a highlight to it, you're going to drag it closer towards white to add a highlight, or also known as a tint in painting. And I know that I've got that right in there, but instead of just painting it on top of the paint that I've already done, this is what it looks like if I paint right on top. That's not a bad thing, but you might like a blender brush better. So at this point, I might go, what does this Impressionist blender do? Oh, that looks kind of interesting. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to sort of test this out. Let's zoom in too, so we can actually see what's happening here. So I might start to come in with that Impressionist blender and see if I like what it's doing. Now, don't forget that your blender has some choices. You can choose how much of that ink you want to flow out. And that was not the blender. It did not change the brush for some reason. Did you guys see that? I just looked and it's not on the blender even though I thought I picked it. So I'm going to go, I want to show you this. This is your history. Your history panel, you open it up right here. It's this little backwards arrow. I want to go back in time to before I laid down those last brush strokes. Okay, do you see how you can go back multiple steps just like that? That tool is your friend. It's right here. That's your history. So I've actually got to select the right brush because for some reason it didn't pick it. Okay, there it is. I see it. It looks like I did it this time. And again, I'm blending in a lighter color for that highlight. Okay. For whatever reason, the color that's loaded is not the color that I picked. This is supposed to blend in with a lighter. Oh, I'm incorrect. The blender smudges. That is my bad. I don't want a blender. I actually want a mixer. I want to go into my mixer brush. The mixer brush is what brings in new colors. You can get to it by clicking here and dragging over. And now I can play around with different, now it's going to show me some different choices. So the mixer brushes look like this. They are a brush with a little tiny, do you see this little water droplet right here next to the brush? That tells me it's a mixer brush. So what I'm doing right now is I've loaded this light color on my brush and it's at 90%. For wetness, 38% for load, mixing 35% with 100% flow. Like if I need to adjust that, I can. Okay, so mess around with it. See what you like. Okay, so now it's going to do what I want finally. So again, I'm going to blend in here. And this is just the blender brush that I'm working with. I'm going to blend in a highlight. I want to keep my brush strokes pretty visible when I do this. I'm actually going to increase the flow because I wanted it to be brighter than that. Okay. I can change my brush size. So I can make it smaller if I wanted to add in like tinier little highlights. Okay. But I want to see the brush stroke. So don't completely blend this out. Do you see how I'm kind of pulling in some of this color from the edge here? And I'm getting this really kind of cool texture. Leave the texture in there. I know this because I've done this before, but I know I have a highlight along the top of my nose, right? So I would start to blend that in as well. Oops. Okay, so I would go over, I would get that brush again, and I would paint in my highlight right along the top of my nose, okay? So again, this can all be, you can clean your brush off. Do you see that? How you can click right there and choose clean brush? So that now I'm gonna load it. I wanna load that brush with this color, say okay. So do you see how it just loaded my brush with that color? This takes a little bit of getting used to, but now we should really see that highlight coming in. Again, the harder I push, the darker that color is gonna be. And I'm gonna do this throughout. I'm gonna push and pull. Now I need a shadow. That's gonna be my next step. I think I'll stick with the mixer brush. I know that I have a shadow here, like along the edge of my nose. And again, don't totally blend it out. With the mixer brush, you can actually pull paint. Do you see how I can pull it around? It'll get thin if I don't if I'm not careful, it'll start to get really thin. Here's what I want you to do though. I want you guys to be continuously turning off your photo layer and seeing what you're left with. And see if it's starting to look like a painting of a person. Okay, so that's kind of what we're looking for. But don't go to this painting step unless you've completed your sketch layer. That is really important. All right, so we're toggling back and forth between all of these things as we work. Don't completely smooth it out. Don't make it look completely like like a photograph, right? We're not going for photorealism. We're trying to keep some crazy stuff in here. Now, since I've got all these other colors to choose from, this might be a good time to start mixing in some of these other colors. Maybe I want to go with this blue color. Maybe my hat's going to be blue. Maybe my sunglasses are going to be blue. Maybe my lips are going to be blue. Like, it's totally up to you. But I do think that picking a palette, going to adobe.com, it's not adobe.com, but it's color.adobe.com. Going here is going to be very helpful for at least just getting started with a palette. You can do something that's also monochromatic, meaning that all of the colors on your palette are all within one color family. Like this one right here would be probably considered more monochromatic because they're all in that like turquoise sea green type of family. So you decide, you get to pick, all right? But use this as your guide for picking. And you can also, like, since you're signed in, see how I'm signed in? You know you're signed in when you see this little symbol up here. You can like save these ideas to your Adobe Color website. And then you can always go back to those ideas with another assignment. So just something, it's a great resource. So that's why I wanted to share it with you. All right, that is it for this demo. Stop